What's up, everyone? Welcome to Ashley Talks Movies. I'm here to talk about the Oscar nominations. Yes, the Oscar nominations have finally been announced, and there's so much to discuss. Now, initially, I wasn't planning on doing a reaction video to the Oscar nominations simply because I didn't think I had enough time in my schedule, but some things opened up, and so I wanted to hop on here really quickly and put together this video. So I'm just going to be going through some of the categories, not all the categories, and sharing my thoughts on the nominations, also talking about some surprises and some things that weren't surprising, as well as some highlights that came out of the announcements. Now, before I jump into the Oscar discussion, if you'd like to support the channel, there are a couple of ways you can do that. Make sure you subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Also, jump into the comments and share your thoughts about this year's nominations. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go through all the categories. I'm just going to go through some of the major ones and share my thoughts about them. But there are a few things that were a little surprising to me. We're going to start things off with a category that isn't a major category, but it is a new category, so I felt that I needed to talk about it, and that is Best Casting. So the nominees in this category are Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, and Sinners. Much like the podcast category for the Golden Globes, this one is still going to have to be refined over the years. I do think this one serves a much better purpose than the podcast category. But, I do, for the most part, agree with most of the nominees in this category. One Battle After Another, Sinners, I think all had really great casting. But I do wonder what the parameters are for this category. But either way, I am very interested in this category. We'll see how it evolves as the years go on. Next up is Best Animated Feature, and honestly, there were no major surprises here. The nominees in this category are Arco, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. I do think K-pop Demon Hunters is probably the front runner here, just because this movie has just dominated across the board. So K-pop Demon Hunters could walk away with the Oscar, or another movie could come in and be a surprise, especially if the awards voters are split. We'll have to see. But as far as what was nominated, no surprises. Up next, we have cinematography, and this is a really solid category, and I honestly have no major complaints. So the nominees in this category are Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams. And I'm actually really happy to see Train Dreams make it into this category because, I do think this movie is starting to get some recognition here. I think it had some slow momentum coming out of last year. But the movie itself, whether or not you like it, is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It has some of the most beautiful cinematography I saw in any movie last year. It's really dreamlike, which fits the name of the movie. So to see it nominated here in this category makes me really happy. And of course, Sinners, I thought, had a really great cinematography, and One Battle After Another as well. Next, we have Best Adapted Screenplay. Nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Train Dreams. Again, I've said this a couple of times now for these categories. No big surprises here. I think most of these movies deserve recognition for Best Adapted Screenplay. Funny thing, I have actually been reading some of the screenplays for some of the movies that have been nominated in other awards categories. A lot of these screenplays are available online, so I've been reading some of them, and I've really enjoyed One Battle After Another. I've also read Begonia and Hamnet, and I think those are really good screenplays, so it's nice to see them on this list. Next up, we have Best Original Screenplay, and the nominees are Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. No major surprises here. Honestly, I expected Sinners. I expected Marty Supreme. Sentimental Value. Pretty much every movie that's on this list I expected. What would have been nice would have been if a movie like Sorry Baby could have creeped in here. I thought that one was a really well-written movie. I saw that at the Sundance Film Festival last year when I did the virtual online viewing, and I enjoyed the movie. It's been getting more recognition, this award season, and it would have been nice to have seen it make this category. Next up, we have Best Supporting Actress, and this is the first category that had a somewhat of a surprise in terms of who was nominated. And the nominees are Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value, Inga Ibsdottir Elias for Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan for Weapons, Wunmi Mosaku for Sinners, and Teyana Taylor for One Battle After Another. Most of these did not surprise me, with the exception of Elle Fanning. Not to say her performance wasn't good. I did enjoy her performance in Sentimental Value, but I really would have thought that Odessa Azion for Marty Supreme would have made it into this category. I really liked her performance in that movie. I thought her performance was very strong. So to not see her here was, again, a little bit of a surprise to me. For Best Supporting Actor, the nominees are Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo for Sinners, Sean Penn for One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. Really happy with this category. No major surprises here. Very excited to see Delroy Lindo make the list here, just because I think he's one of those really underrated actors. And I really wish he would have gotten nominated for The Five Bloods, which was the movie he did with Spike Lee. But it's really nice to see him here. I do think his performance in Sinners was noteworthy. And I thought he did a fantastic job. So to see him nominated here makes me really happy. Also, this is apparently his first ever Oscar nomination, which is shocking to me because, again, he's been in this industry for so long. He's so talented. So, happy to see the Academy acknowledge Delroy Lindo. Up next, we have Best Actress, and the nominees are Jessie Buckley for Hamnet, Rose Byrne for If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson for Song Sung Blue, Renetta Reinsve for Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone for Begonia. Another really solid category here. Probably the only surprise is Kate Hudson, but it seems like she's had some, late momentum here in this award season with this movie. I do still think that, I'm not making predictions, but I still do think that Jessie Buckley and Rose Byrne are probably the front runners here, just because it's pretty much been between these two in some of the previous awards, and I think those two had the strongest performances of anyone in this category. So again, it'll be interesting to see how things shape up leading closer to the awards ceremony. For Best Actor, the nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. No major surprises in this category. I do think Timothée Chalamet is the frontrunner for now, but I'm really happy to see Michael B. Jordan here. I did really enjoy his performance in Sinners, or his performances in Sinners. I think he's really talented, and it's nice to see him get acknowledged, especially for this particular role, because he was playing twins, and he did a really good job of making those two characters very distinct. Next up, we have Best Director, and honestly, this category is probably the most boring category this time around, just because this one was probably the most predictable in terms of who was going to be nominated. The nominees are Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. I'm happy with all the nominees in this category. Again, to be honest, this is how I expected it to go, so no surprises here at all. I think the big surprise will be who actually walks away with the statue. Paul Thomas Anderson won the Golden Globes. It's nice to see Ryan Coogler in this category. I think he did a fantastic job with Sinners. Be nice to see him walk away with the statue. But we'll have to wait and see how things shape up by the time the ceremony rolls around. And finally, the last category I'm going to talk about, which is the big one, and that is Best Picture. So the nominees in this category are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Again, interesting to see Train Dreams is getting some momentum here. Not surprised to see it here. Just, again, this is one of those movies that had sort of a late start to everything, and now it's really starting to pop up in a lot of these awards lists. I think the biggest surprise to me is F1. Now, I put F1 on my list of best movies of 2025. I really enjoyed that movie a lot. I don't know if I would have put this movie in the Best Picture category over some of the other movies that came out last year that got omitted here. But honestly, if you follow the Oscars and award season, every year there's always that one movie that's sort of like the question mark movie where it just seems like it doesn't fit, and not necessarily because it's not good, but maybe it's because it's maybe a little bit more commercial or something. And there's always that movie. And this year it's F1. So fine. But I'm not hating it because, again, I really enjoyed F1. It made my list of favorite movies of last year. But yeah, it's interesting to see it make the Best Picture list, even if it doesn't win, which I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. But it will always be a Best Picture nominee. So that pretty much recaps the nominees for the major categories. Like I said, I didn't go through all of them, but those are the ones that I did want to mention and kind of talk about those nominations. There were a couple other things I wanted to highlight that came out of the nominations. One being that Sinners led the nominations with 16, becoming the most nominated film in Oscar history. It beat the previous record of 14, which was held by movies like All About Eve and Titanic and La La Land. Again, I really liked Sinners. I put it on my list of best movies of 2025. In fact, it was my favorite movie of 2025. And so I have been rooting for this movie to do really well during the awards season. And so far it has done pretty well. But it's really nice to see it get a lot of love here from the Academy with these nominations, and for it to have more than any other movie is pretty amazing. And it made history, so that's pretty significant as well. We'll see how it does closer to the actual ceremony, because again, things can change between now and then. And, I would hate for the story to be that Sinners led in nominations and then walked away with virtually nothing in terms of actual awards or statues. Hopefully that isn't the case, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Other thing to point out, movies with the most nominations this year, Sinners, again, I already mentioned, at the top with 16. One Battle After Another had 13. Frankenstein had 9. Marty Supreme also had 9. So did Sentimental Value. Hamnet came in with 8. And The Begonia, F1, The Secret Agent, and Train Dreams all tied with 4. Overall, the Oscar nominations went about how I expected them to go. However, there was one big surprise there, and that was Wicked for Good walking away with 0 nominations. This movie got completely shut out. Now, I wasn't really expecting Wicked for Good to get any nominations in the acting categories. That's not to say that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande didn't do a great job with their performances. They did, but I don't think they had the momentum going into the Oscars to land nominations. However, I did expect Wicked for Good to at least get nominated in the categories of costuming and/or makeup and hairstyling, because even if you don't like the movie, the costuming and the makeup, even the production design, I think is really, really well done. And it's just kind of surprising that this movie just sort of dropped off. It just lost all momentum, no love from the Academy, especially considering Wicked, the first movie, which is, yes, better than Wicked for Good. That one got a ton of nominations at the previous Oscars. So yeah, I don't know what happened here, but again, no love for Wicked for Good. Now those are the nominations. Nothing is locked in, so a lot can happen between now and then. Oscar voting doesn't even begin until I think it's February next month, and then it'll end in March. So, a lot can happen in terms of how voters feel about certain movies. So what we think is a frontrunner now could end up not being a frontrunner going into the actual ceremony. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. So what did you think of the Oscar nominations? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have quite a few things on the way. I have a review of Send Help, which was a movie that made my most anticipated of 2026 list. I'll have a review for that coming up really soon. I will also do a Oscar predictions video once we get closer to the actual ceremony. I did one last year, not a lot of people watched it, but if you were to watch my video, you would know that I think got only 3 wrong out of all the categories. So I did pretty well in my predictions. We'll see how I do this year. No pressure. But anyway, that does it for me, everyone. See you next time, and thanks for watching.